Hello everyone and welcome to His Author's Voice. And I am the author, Jack Sanger. Today's story concerns the power of the tarot. You may know it, or have heard of it, or know nothing about it. But it is an extraordinary instrument in delving into the unconscious of the reader and the person who comes to be read, known as the querent. Here's a story about it. I hope you like it. The Magus and the Prophetess. What does the tarot mean to you in the early 21st century? A parlour game of faux divination? Something to place beside horoscopes or drop the arrow sticks while consulting the I Ching? In other words, another 21st century occupation with the otherworldly? Part of the mass desire to denigrate real science? Fiction, myth and anecdote versus so-called irrefutable evidence? I do not belong to your camp. I am a diviner, a seer, a chiromancer. I live beyond the perceived constraints of time. The cards I now possess are an instrument beyond your comprehension. The tarot had played like a musical instrument under my fingers since I was a child and found my mother's old Marseille pack. Even then, its pregnant, colourful images sang to me. Hymns to my unconscious. First my own, and afterwards delving into those of others. A bridge below the spoken word. A binding of reader to querent through visions and prophecies. Hundreds passed my way, cutting and shuffling my cards to order them by their intuition into stories that speak the language of arcane symbols. I was the vehicle, the conduit that mirrored what they really knew, but remained beyond their conscious grasp. My name is Nicholas Auger, and I'm going to recount the tarot reading experience which eclipsed all my hundreds of sessions. In one fell swoop of the axe, it severed my past from my future, and it thrust me into a dimension of which I was unaware. I was sitting in my rooms in Old Soho on March the 21st, 1859. I was meditating on a solitary card I had pulled from my oldest pack. I'd lit an incense burner of concoctions of Arabic perfumes. It was early evening, but not too cold. Even so, I had donned my black silk fez and thick embroidered dressing gown for comfort. The card was the Wheel of Fortune. A knock at the door roused me from the depths. In a deep sense, the card and the door were connected. I was aware that something new was about to change my life. I have no servant, so raised myself and went to answer the knock. The opened door revealed an imperious old lady, taller than me, silver-topped cane in hand. She was not labouring after the climb to my rooms. She wore a hooded cloak of deep red lined in dark blue velvet. Her boots were splashed with mud. "Yes?" I asked, a trifle brusquely. "You were expecting me, no?" Her accent was faintly foreign, perhaps French. Was I? "The Wheel of Fortune. Were you not consulting it as I arrived?" I said nothing but stood aside, and she swept in, unbuttoning her cloak and hanging it on the stand. She wore an ankle-length, tight-bodiced dress of gold. A leather bag was belted to her waist. She seemed even older than I surmised. She wore no powder, kohl, or lipstick. Her face was white as any I've seen, even among the dead. She sat opposite me, my tarot table between us, and the Wheel of Fortune card turned face up at its centre. Mr. Nicholas Auger, you will read for me. Aye, but you will use my deck of cards. My deck of cards. She opened the leather bag and took out a rectangular black silk bundle. Undoing it, she revealed a pack of thin metal cards, finer in the making than any pasteboard I had encountered, but of a size that seemed cumbersome for all but the largest hand. She indicated I must put away my pack. Then she fanned the cards face up before me. They were as vivid as stained glass on a sunny day. They are not of my own design. My predecessor worked with a metal engraver and used gold leaf copper and a Chinese palette. I waited. She dominated me. She had a power I could not fathom. There was an imperiousness about her hooked nose, green eyes, and manly lips. Like an eagle, I thought. She shuffled the pack, then cut it twice. She put the pile in front of me. I dealt the 10 cards in the Celtic cross formation. All the chosen cards were from the major arcana. I was stupefied. I began speaking, but my voice seemed as though it came from deep inside my head, so faint it was to my ear. The cards themselves were alive, not bound by their rectangles, but flowing among each other in a continuous swirl, as though in a stream that turned continuously back upon itself. I remember little about what I said. It was as if the words were private to my own brain, and I was a poor eavesdropper. But, of course, certain details burned outside in the air and settled in my immediate memory. My querent was ancient. I couldn't ascertain how old. I remember asking why she wanted a reading at this late stage of her soul's journey. Late stage? She smiled. Make no assumptions, Mr. Auger. Read. What I divulged from her garrulous cards was not credible. Events tumbled out one after another, recounted by my tongue and yet unheard by my ears. Events spanning centuries. How can a life contain centuries of war and love and death and sorrow? I heard my own voice tremble fearfully. Life, she replied. Lives, Mr. Auger. The spirit is eternal for you and me. Bodies for us are but momentary shelters. The cards revealed her passage through time, every civilization I know of and others a mystery, her contact with famous personages, her lovers, her positions of power. But this cavalcade of vivid history did not stop. The first card in the cross was the Fool. The penultimate was the Wheel of Fortune, and the last was the World. Such a layout was complete. and yet timeless. The word pictures issuing from my mouth held logic at the outset, but began to lack meaning as I continued. They sailed stubbornly into the future. I confess I did not comprehend much of it at the time. Horses, carriages, vehicles on iron tracks, great ships of steel floating like feathers on the ocean. Then airborne containers of people that passed from continent to continent. Lastly, I saw the world as a ball in the cosmos and airborne bullets carrying passengers to the stars. And among these dramatic events were terrible wars, with angels of mass death, famines and ravages of nature. And as I have said, so much more of which I cannot begin to speak, for everyday lives in the future were unrecognizable to my poor intellect. My voice had become hoarse with the long telling of it. My querent suddenly stayed my gabble with a hand on my arm. "Stop now, Mr. Augur. You have learned enough of me. All of it will be available to you. Now here is the question. I came to find you, and only you. Why?" She indicated the remaining pile of cards. I understood that gesture. I cut several times and chose the card second from the top. The Magus was revealed. "As you saw from the Celtic cross, my visit to your world is now complete, and new work awaits me elsewhere. I came to you because, though you did not know it before this moment, you are of my loins. You are not of full humankind. You are my only child, my heir, and you carry within you the knowledge of worlds among the stars beyond this world, ready when needed to be revealed. I give you this tarot pack, for, in truth, this is no normal, common collection, but a delicate instrument to convey knowledge to you, and then to broadcast that knowledge beyond this world." With that, and with no further intimacy between us, she left. My meeting with the prophetess, as I once thought of her, was some 400 years ago. Most of the future she opened to me through the cards is now my own lived past. I too have had many lives, exchanging bodily forms to stay actively engaged with the changing world. I have seen the best and the very worst it has to offer. And in time, I became able to exploit fully the power in her gift to me. All I experienced through my senses, my past, present and future, are relayed instantly by the tarot pack to the heavens. I have taken on her mantle. I am the Magus, the celestial chronicler of this planet. So, that was the Magus and the Prophetess. I hope you enjoyed it. I've written 30 or more short stories during the last year for your delectation and delight. I hope you move on now and listen to some of them. The channel is called His Author's Voice, Stories with a Twist. please subscribe. In the meantime, if you prefer to read my work, you can go to my website www.jacksanger.com, and there you'll find novels, plays and short stories which you can download for free or make a donation. It's entirely up to you. In the meantime, pass on the link to this channel to your friends. The more that hear my stories, the merrier, of course. Enjoy life. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.